The Mummy wasn't just a box office hit, it literally saved Universal Studios from financial collapse. But behind those iconic scenes lie stories you've probably never heard, from a near-fatal hanging accident to a city built inside a volcano crater, from camels that hated one actor to a composer who secretly inserted his own previous work. This movie's production was as adventurous as the film itself. Here are 15 unknown facts about The Mummy. Fact 1. Remember that scene where Benny tries to load gold onto a camel and the animal absolutely refuses to budge? That wasn't acting. Those camels really did hate Kevin J. O'Connor. For reasons nobody could explain, every single camel on set despised him. The scene where the camel won't move when Benny pulls the reins is completely authentic. O'Connor made his situation worse by insisting his character wear open-toed sandals instead of boots. Despite the costume department's strong recommendations, O'Connor believed Benny was a sandals guy, even though they'd be spending hours daily on the scorching Sahara Desert sand. The smart costume designer tried to warn him, asking if he knew where they'd be filming. O'Connor stubbornly insisted on the sandals anyway. On the first day of filming in the desert, he immediately regretted his decision when he felt something move under the sand beneath his feet. Looking back, O'Connor admitted he should have listened to the costume designer. Between the camels that hated him and the sandals decision, O'Connor learned that sometimes vanity and character commitment can make for a very uncomfortable shoot. Fact 2.
Godless son of a pig knows where to find the city of the dead.
Yes.
Truly?
Yes!
The hanging scene wasn't just acting. Brendan Fraser legitimately almost died filming it. Fraser insisted on doing his own stunts, and during the sequence where Rick is about to be hanged in Cairo's prison, something went terribly wrong. According to Rachel Weisz, Fraser stopped breathing and had to be resuscitated by an EMT on set. Fraser himself recalls the moment vividly. Stuntman was supposed to control the tension on the rope, but Fraser went up on the balls of his feet, and then the tension increased again. He remembers seeing the camera start to pan around, and then everything went dark. He described it as the Death Star powering down. Fraser regained consciousness with an EMT saying his name. Director Stephen Sommers later joked that Fraser was totally to blame, though the two remained good friends. The incident didn't stop Fraser from continuing to do his own stunts throughout production, but it serves as a reminder of just how dangerous even controlled film sets can be. That scene where Evelyn bargains for Rick's life, the stakes were more real than anyone in the audience knew. Fact 3.
Look at that.
Hamunaptra isn't just movie magic. Production designer Alan Cameron discovered an incredible natural formation called Gera Meduar, a dormant volcano crater about 12 miles southwest of Erfoud in Morocco's Sahara Desert. This horseshoe-shaped geological formation once held an 11th century fortress, making it the perfect location for the legendary City of the Dead. Cameron's team built a concrete ramp through a breach in the formation's wall to allow access, then shipped prefabricated set pieces from England to construct the ancient city inside the crater. The production team surveyed the entire area so they could create accurate models and scale replicas of the columns and statues back at Shepperton Studios for interior shots. It took 16 weeks to build the set, which was designed to collapse during the final action sequences. The location later became famous again when it was used as Blofeld's headquarters in the 2015 James Bond film Spectre. Today, Gera Meduar is a popular tourist destination, though archaeological investigations have been hampered by the construction and removal of film sets. Ironically, The Mummy left its own lasting mark on this ancient landscape. Fact 4.
Ancient curses, one so horrible it had never before been bestowed.
Playing Imhotep came with an unexpected grooming, requirement that Arnold Vosloo found less than pleasant. Because the character spends much of the film shirtless and wearing only a loincloth, Vosloo had to be completely hairless from head to toe. We're not talking about a simple shave before filming began. Vosloo had to be shaved twice every single day he was on set to maintain that smooth look for continuity. The production tried waxing once, but Vosloo immediately vetoed that painful option and stuck with shaving. Additionally, carrying some extra weight and being conscious about Imhotep's revealing costume, Vosloo lost 10 to 15 pounds before filming by cutting out alcohol and sugar from his diet. When Vosloo was offered the role after a single audition, he told Sommers he wanted to play Imhotep absolutely straight. From Imhotep's point of view, this is a skewed version of Romeo and Juliet. His commitment to the role and his willingness to endure the daily shaving routine helped create one of cinema's most memorable mummy performances, even if it meant saying goodbye to body hair for the entire shoot. Fact 5. That spectacular scene where Evelyn accidentally knocks over the library bookshelves in a domino effect? They had one shot to get it right. The production built rows upon rows of bookshelves filled with books, all rigged to fall in sequence. If anything went wrong, if the timing was off, if an actor made a mistake, if a single bookshelf didn't fall correctly, it would have taken an entire day to reset everything and try again. The pressure was immense. Rachel Weisz performed the scene perfectly, and the bookshelves fell exactly as planned. The crew and cast deserve serious credit for pulling this off flawlessly. Knowing the stakes makes watching the scene even more impressive. There were no second chances, no safety net. Every element had to work perfectly in that single take. Director Stephen Sommers captured it all beautifully, creating a moment that's both comedic and character-defining for Evelyn. It's the kind of practical filmmaking that modern audiences might not appreciate. Today, they'd probably shoot it multiple times and use CGI to perfect it, but in 1999, they built it, they shot it, and they nailed it on the first try. Act 6.
No! Let go of me! Let go of me!
Filming in Morocco's remote desert regions came with unexpected insurance requirements. Universal took out kidnapping insurance on all cast members. This wasn't paranoia, it was a practical precaution for filming in a politically unstable region. The production couldn't shoot in Egypt due to the unstable political climate there, so Morocco became the primary location. But that came with its own risks. The production also had the official support of the Royal Moroccan Army, which gives you an idea of just how serious the security situation was. Beyond kidnapping concerns, the Sahara Desert location presented numerous other hazards. The crew had to deal with sandstorms that interrupted filming almost daily. Several crew members were actually airlifted from the set to local medical centers after being bitten or stung by snakes, scorpions, and spiders. Production sent out memos describing dangerous snakes. One had yellow dots and could result in amputation at best if it bit someone. John Hannah recalled that the heat, snakes, scorpions, and spiders made it difficult to keep focus and maintain enthusiasm. The cast had to maintain high energy levels right up to action, while battling oppressive heat and dangerous wildlife. Adventure filmmaking sometimes means real adventure and real danger. Fact 7.
Yeah. Can you believe? Yeah. Can we just... No.
Here's something most people don't know. The Mummy quite literally saved Universal Studios. In the late 1990s, Universal was hemorrhaging money from box office failures like Babe, Pig in the City. The studio was in such dire financial straits that they were revisiting their old franchises from the 1930s out of desperation. New studio chair Stacy Snyder distributed packets detailing nearly 5,000 old scripts and films, hoping something would click. Stephen Sommers got his window of opportunity and pitched The Mummy with an 18-page treatment, but nobody expected it to work. Test audiences hated the title because it conjured images of slow, boring horror films. Universal was so worried they spent a reported $1.6 million on a Super Bowl TV spot just to change perceptions. The gamble paid off spectacularly. The Mummy grossed $417 million worldwide on an $80 million budget, becoming the 6th highest grossing film of 1999. More importantly, it pulled Universal back from the brink. Without this film's success, Universal Studios might not exist today. Sometimes desperate times really do call for desperate measures, and sometimes they work. Fact 8. Evelyn wasn't always going to be British. The studio originally auditioned mostly American actresses for the role because the character was written as American. Rachel Weisz, a relatively unknown British actress at the time, had to audition multiple times. Sources report anywhere from 5 to 15 auditions before Stephen Sommers finally cast her. What won Sommers over? The chemistry between Weisz and Brendan Fraser was undeniable. After casting Weisz, Sommers rewrote the character to be British to match the actress. The script originally described Evelyn as a rather uninteresting British girl. Eyeglasses, hair in a bun, long boring dress, your typical prudish nightmare, but then prophetically adds, "We're going to fall in love with her." Sommers couldn't have known how beautiful and charismatic Weisz would be when he wrote those words. Weisz brought something special to the role. Critics loved her performance while having mixed feelings about the film itself. Roger Ebert's favorite lines from the movie were all spoken by Evelyn. The Hollywood Reporter praised Weisz for keeping pace with the overwhelmingly male cast. Her persistence through those numerous auditions paid off, creating one of the most beloved characters in 1990s. Adventure cinema. Fact 9.
Rude, a complete scoundrel. I don't like him one bit.
Anyone I know?
When production moved from Morocco back to the United Kingdom, they built one of the most elaborate sets of the entire film at the dockyards in Chatham, Kent. This massive set, which doubled for the Giza port on the Nile River, stretched 600 feet in length. That's 2 football fields. The set featured incredible detail: a working steam train, an Ajax traction engine, 3 cranes, an open 2-horse carriage, 4 horse-drawn carts, 5 dressing horses with grooms, 9 pack donkeys and mules, plus market stalls and Arab-clad vendors. actors. There was room for 300 costumed extras. Creating period-accurate 1920s Egypt required meticulous attention to detail. In Marrakesh, the production set up 2 weeks before filming began, taking down telephone wires and cables, shipping in period cars and camels, and dressing the city to look less modern. Marrakesh had the advantage of being less developed than Cairo, making it easier to transform into 1920s Egypt. The combination of practical sets, location shooting, and attention to detail created an authentic world that modern CGI-heavy productions sometimes struggle to match. Sometimes bigger really is better, and 600 feet of practical sets is definitely impressive. Fact 10.
What's your little problem got to do with His Majesty's Royal Air Corps?
Not a damn thing.
Legendary composer Jerry Goldsmith, who had scored over 200 films and won an Academy Award for The Omen, did something unusual while promoting The Mummy. Before the film's release, Goldsmith stood before thousands at a London concert and called the movie a piece of shit. This was shocking because Goldsmith rarely spoke negatively about the films he worked on, even the bad ones. So what happened? Despite Goldsmith's harsh pre-release assessment, he actually wrote nearly 100 minutes of exceptional music for The Mummy. The score was considered one of his best works from the 1990s, using traditional orchestral music combined with native instruments like the bouzouki, a Greek mandolin-like instrument, to provide regional Egyptian color. Goldsmith revisited his action and suspense style from the late 1970s and early 1980s, which he'd largely moved away from by 1999. Interestingly, during the scene where the Pharaoh's bodyguards board O'Connell's ship, Goldsmith inserted a brief musical riff from Mulan, another film he'd scored just a year earlier. Goldsmith's public criticism didn't hurt the film's success, and his score is now celebrated as a thrilling adventure soundtrack that perfectly complements the movie. Fact 11. While filming the famous sandstorm scene, Arnold Vosloo became convinced his career was over. Picture this: Vosloo standing alone on a sand dune, with the director 200 meters away yelling instructions through a bullhorn, telling him to point at the sky and wave his arms dramatically. There was nothing there, no sandstorm, no effects, just empty air. Vosloo would have to imagine the massive CGI sandstorm that would be added later. After one take, Vosloo turned to his co-stars and said, "We're never going to work again because this feels weird." CGI was still relatively new in 1999, and Vosloo had no idea what to expect, as an actor working with effects that didn't exist yet. He later admitted, "How wrong was I?" Kevin J. O'Connor faced similar confusion and called the CGI team to ask what he was supposed to be looking at. They explained it would be a huge wall of sand, like a tidal wave. That confusion led to O'Connor ad-libbing one of Benny's best lines.
"I love the whole sand wall trick. It was beautiful."
Never expecting it would make the final cut. Fact
Right.
12.
Filthy, rude, complete scoundrel. Nothing to like there at all.
When Stephen Sommers offered John Hannah the role of Jonathan Carnahan, Hannah was genuinely confused. He didn't see himself as a comedic actor at all. Sommers later admitted that Hannah had no idea why he'd been cast, but Sommers saw something Hannah didn't see in himself, a natural comedic timing and charm that made Jonathan the perfect sidekick and comic relief character. Hannah's confusion about his casting makes his performance even more impressive. Despite not considering himself funny, he delivered some of the film's most memorable comedic moments. His timing, his facial expressions, his ability to play the lovable scoundrel. It all worked perfectly, even though he approached the role without confidence in his comedy skills. Sometimes directors see potential in actors that the actors themselves don't recognize. Hannah's reluctant embrace of comedy helped create a character that balanced the film's horror and action elements with much-needed levity. The moral of the story? Sometimes you're better at things than you think you are, and sometimes it takes someone else to see that potential and force you into trying something new. Fact 13. The Mummy's total budget was $80 million, but here's what most people don't know. The filmmakers reportedly spent between $15 and $20 million of that budget on special effects alone. That's a quarter of the entire budget dedicated just to effects. Industrial Light and Magic contributed more than 140 shots, with additional work from Cinesight contributing 60 shots and Pacific Title Mirage creating 45 shots, plus the film's title sequences. The effects team created a digital representation of the mummy in Alias software, featuring simulated muscles attached to a skeleton. Animators used procedural animation to control parts of the mummy. Animating the underlying bones controlled the stretch and movement of the overlaid muscles. Subtle movements like facial expressions and hand animations had to be done by hand, because the technology had limitations. Arnold Vosloo performed the motion capture for Imhotep himself, rather than using a stunt performer. For the plague sequences, ILM used particle-based computer graphics, swapping out models of different quality depending on how far the insects were from the camera. The investment paid off. The mummy's effects still hold up remarkably well over 25 years later. Fact 14.
Oops.
Here's a detail the film never explains. Evelyn's glasses actually caused the library disaster. In the movie, we see Evelyn wearing glasses and being clumsy, knocking over all those bookshelves. What audiences don't know is that the novelization clarifies something important. Evelyn only wore glasses for close-up work, and they messed with her depth perception. That's specifically what caused her to misjudge the ladder height and accidentally trigger the bookshelf domino effect. It's a small detail, but it transforms what looks like generic movie clumsiness into an actual character trait with a logical explanation. Rachel Weisz had to act not just clumsy, but clumsy in a specific way that made sense for someone whose vision correction made them misjudge distances. The scene is even more impressive knowing it was shot in one take. Weisz had to nail the precise movements and timing, while pretending her glasses were causing depth perception issues. Stephen Sommers added this character detail to make Evelyn more than just a smart but clumsy librarian stereotype. She's intelligent and capable, but her glasses create a specific vulnerability that makes her more human and relatable, and creates one of the film's most memorable moments. Fact 15.
I guess I go home empty-handed. Again.
I wouldn't say that.
Nobody involved with The Mummy expected it to become a massive hit. Market research showed audiences didn't want to see a movie about a guy wrapped in bandages. Director Stephen Sommers, Brendan Fraser, and even Arnold Vosloo all thought the film would flop. Test audiences initially hated the title because it made them think of slow, boring horror films. The producers were terrified that Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which opened the same weekend, would destroy them at the box office. Kevin J. O'Connor recalls, "With The Phantom Menace opening up that weekend, I just thought it would swallow everything else up, but The Mummy just kept getting stronger. It was pretty cool." The film opened at #1 in the United States with $43 million, the highest non-holiday May opening at the time. It went on to gross $417 million worldwide, becoming 1999's sixth highest grossing film. It was also a home video phenomenon, selling 7 million VHS copies and 1 million DVDs, making it the year's best-selling live-action VHS. The success spawned 2 sequels, a prequel series starring The Rock, an animated series, and numerous video games. Sometimes the movies everyone thinks will fail become the biggest surprises. From near-death accidents to cities built in volcanoes, The Mummy's production was as thrilling as the movie itself. Who knew the camels genuinely hated one actor, or that the film literally saved Universal from bankruptcy? That hanging scene almost killed Brendan Fraser for real, and nobody involved thought the movie would succeed. Sometimes the best adventures happen behind the camera.